Hi there. Well, it's me this time, but I do have a video toy on. It's called I See a Ghost. Ah, just because I like to play, no particular reason. Okay, um, I've been in some really interesting space, and I'm not ready to talk about all of it yet, but something I've been contemplating, uh, well, is beliefs. I I live there. I'm really alert to that. I like to watch for that. And I have a complete trust in whatever to reveal what needs to be revealed with appropriate timing. And I'm kind of surrendered into that. There's not a fear here anymore. And that is so comforting. And it changes things. It changes so many things. I think I'm going to agree with Anelia Benz. The most important thing any of us can do is to process our own fear. Besides which, our fear is just a magnet to bring to us those things that we're frightened of. It might seem kind of backwards that it works like that. I don't know why it does. It just does. But, it kind of gives us a cook in the tush, a kick in the butt toward letting go of the fear. I mean, once we know that it acts like a magnet to bring us what we fear, that's a pretty good motivation to process the fear. Okay, and beliefs underlie fear. You'll always find beliefs. All right, now, I've mentioned before that I have followed any number of, I won't call them detours, but paths that turned out later. They didn't pan out. They didn't have sufficient truth as I walked farther along, and I discovered that. And so when I did, I just quit walking that direction and just let it go. It's interesting, though, what I've been pondering here is what makes us vulnerable to false beliefs. What is it? What makes us vulnerable to believe someone whom we later find out is not telling the truth? And it's our own desires, it's our own hopes. People say things that we want to believe, that we dearly hope would be true. And so, absent that desire in us, that's our vulnerability to being misled. I didn't realize I was just going to come right out with this. You know how I do this. I mean, I'm not really in charge of my own life. Define I for me, and you'll get the prize. Okay, so I have discovered that Alex Collier is not speaking the truth. I have discovered, we all know that he changed his name, and that's not a big deal. I might be changing mine shortly. Papa G has given me a new name. But I now have to set aside everything the man has said, everything, based on what I've discovered. What I'll do is I'll put a link with this transcript, and everyone can go check it out for themselves. There's Unicus Magazine has their UFO centered, and the Robert Stanley is the host and the editor, and he's in the midst of changing horses. He's going in a different direction, but he gave 2 or 3 interviews with Alex, who's a long time acquaintance of his. I think he's known him since the 80s. And I'll put links to those interviews as well with this transcript. And Robert didn't reveal it there. But when I wrote him a comment, a nice note, based on his hosting Alex, and told him that I was a fellow lover of truth, he wrote me and he said, well, if that's the case, then I have something to share with you. Now I have to get his permission. These are links that he's given me, and maybe even to share with you his letter, but that's not up to me. I have to get his permission to do that. But I have no doubt that I'll be able to share at least some of this with you. And so I'll be taking down Alex's lectures from my favorites and from my uploads. And it takes a while. When you've believed something, pursued it, followed it, and put some heart into it, you can't just, you're not a water spigot. You can't just turn on and turn off like that. It takes a while for things to settle down, because what happens is the conscious mind sends the order to the subconscious, dredge it all up, everything I picked up from this particular source, and ditch it. And it takes time. So don't be surprised when you receive a blow like this, if it takes a week or two even, to sort through it. There's a real disappointment. And I feel for the real beings from Andromeda. I mean, he's lucky they didn't come down and give him a bit of a comeuppance for the things that he was saying. I don't think he meant any harm, not at all. I hold nothing against him. None of us is perfect. None of us is better than him or worse than him. You can take the greatest saint and the greatest sinner, and I am that, because all is one. And so I'm not suggesting any kind of judgment by anyone. Sure, it's disappointing. Let's just be grateful that we're not him right now, walking in his shoes and needing to do things like this for attention or whatever the reason is. And let's send up some prayers for the guy, and for everyone who's not the true lover of truth. Okay, so as not to make great big long videos, I'm going to close this one out, and then I'll read a journal that's been waiting a good while to be recorded. Good day, and God bless.